from my point of view. What we have to sort of realize is that in corporate America, the cultural transformation is occurring. And we have to also realize is that there's multiple personas of every individual. So what does Jeff actually mean when he says multiple personas? Well, if you look over here on the left, this is what I'm viewed as in IBM. I'm a distinguished engineer. I'm well known for collaboration and architecture. I have sort of ways in which you contact me. But over here, I have my digital life, my online life, my digital persona, right? And this is sort of how I'm viewed in a digital means, right? In 3D worlds, for example. But I'm also a dad. Right? I have a family. And the challenge that organizations are going to start to struggle with, if they're not already today, or they need to address at least, is how do they transcend these different personas as me as an employee or as an individual? Because that'll be exceedingly more important as we try to transform the way in which we produce effective employees or workers. And so through a lot of the research that we've been doing in IBM and others have been doing, and you will probably sort of agree with in your personal life, is that community is a strong way in which we sort of start to drive the transcending across those personas. So what's my reference point? Well, I've been really fortunate in IBM to have accelerated my career to the point of becoming a distinguished engineer. There's only 500 of us out of the 400,000 employees. And I didn't do that alone, right? I had someone, at least one person I could always bounce an idea off. And that's sort of one of the successes that I've been able to sort of get value out of, is that there's never been one problem that I've ever had to solve by myself. I've always had another brain, at least one other brain, to bounce that idea off. That's because I have an identical twin brother in IBM. It's true. So we take the idea of, if Ed and Jeff have always been able to use two brains to solve a problem, what if we took that same idea and applied it to hundreds of people? How effective could we be? And that's sort of the basis of social media, social collaboration, social networking, Web 2.0, whatever you want to call it, right? The basis is you don't solve a problem by yourself anymore. We don't have those heroes within the institution, sort of the person that hoards all the knowledge so that everyone goes to that one individual, right? It's all about spreading the knowledge and working as a team. And we find that that's an exceedingly effective way to sort of drive organizational transformation and effectiveness. So Web 1.0 is always about getting in front of your customer, getting in front of your client, right? Getting in front of your employees, right? This is the message that you need to hear. Web 2.0 is all about the community, right? Sort of how do we bring people together? Now, Hugh sort of made the comment earlier about globally dispersed employees, and sort of it used to be we always in the same building, and now we're globally dispersed. Well, how do you reestablish that sense of community? It's actually really important, because the water cooler is no longer sort of there. You've sort of heard that phrase probably before. So influence and being influential is sort of the key within the Web 2.0 world. And sort of the way I sort of look at it, the people that are the most influential are the ones that are willing to share. It sort of gets back to that idea that if you're the person, that you're the superhero, you only have a small sphere of influence. Those that are willing to share will have a much broader community that will benefit. Here's a reference point, and this is one that I use in my personal life. So at the end of the year, when my manager says to me, "How effective have you been at IBM?" And I say, "Well, I have a network of people that is this large," but what does that really mean? And then I say, "Well, here, I share every document, every presentation, every white paper I author to the entire IBM Corporation. And last year, over 2,000 people downloaded documents that I had no idea downloaded. And we're able to leverage that for value for their clients. So in a sense, I influenced over 2,000 opportunities within IBM without having to do any extra work for my day job. That's something that I can start to measure and start to get value out of. But there's one thing that we have to sort of realize is that there's this, probably all aware of the law of diminishing returns, right? So you get to a certain point where if you add more people or whatever, you just can't get any more efficiency. Well, we're starting to see the same thing as what we call the social diminishing return. So as your network increases, you become less You benefit less because you're spending more time trying to figure out what everyone else is doing. You're not socializing the value that you should be providing. And so one of the things that organizations will have to deal with is, how do I address this problem and make people effective but not counter-effective?